So our guests from Crime Stoppers are back again because here on the Roula and Ryan show, yes, we have our fun and our games, but we also want to keep our community aware of what's happening and how can we keep our kids safe? How can we keep ourselves safe? How can parents keep themselves safe from maybe their kids doing something they don't even realize they're doing? Well, that's why Rania Mankarius from Crime Stoppers is here. Hi, Rania.
Hey,
Rania.
Hey.
So, Rania, all these arrests are being made right now for these hoaxes. People,
School
being
threats.
charged with felonies for hoaxes. I know the FBI's been brought in.
Yep.
I mean, what is happening in HISD?
Or all
It's
school
not just
districts, not
HISD.
just
It's not just
HISD.
HISD, but
Spring Branch,
yeah.
Sheldon, Humble. We're getting all kinds of reports, Rania. How many, you said 50
Yes.
threats?
So Houston FBI is saying about 30 threats, but then they've received 20 additional from other surrounding school districts. Here's the thing. You can never joke about bringing a gun to school or hurting your school campus. It's never a joke. It's instantly a federal crime that instantly brings in the FBI, and they take these things very seriously. So whether it is a joke or a serious threat, all the same mechanisms are going to be enacted, and everybody is going to be after that.
including using social media. I know an arrest was made in Bel Air yesterday. Somebody made a social media threat.
Whether it's a social media threat, an email, a text, we've seen things airdropped to other students, whether it's a real gun from your home that you had no intention of using, or maybe a stock image of a gun, it doesn't matter. The second you imply that you're going to hurt your school, it sets off a full chain of reactions, and the school district's responding, the FBI is engaged, and the community is engaged.
As it
So
should.
as parents,
Yes.
Rania, if, because kids are making these threats and look, parents don't always know what their kids are saying and doing, saying to each other on social media or posting. So tell me about the fallback on the parent of the child who makes the threat.
So it depends what happens. If a student actually brings a weapon into school and discharges that weapon, parents, you are engaged. That's it. Because you had a duty,
Right.
to
Yeah.
lock up your weapon to
Right,
protect.
right.
Now, if it's simply a threat, the student is going to be held responsible. It depends at what level the parents will be involved.
Okay.
So if the parents are negligent, they know what their student's doing and they're not doing anything, we're going to get the parents involved. And other times, as you said, Rula, the parents literally have no idea. But in any case, at this point, everybody knows you can't get on an airplane and say, I'm going to...
You can't even say the word
Yeah,
bomb in an
you can't
airport.
say any of
You
that.
cannot say the
No.
word bomb inside an airport.
So no one can plead ignorance here. You cannot, in any scenario, under any circumstance, joke about, talk about, infer, imply, hint at hurting a school population. Because look, we have kids. Your listeners have kids. Our kids are now afraid to go to school.
Yes.
Of course, it's a different world
Anxiety.
than what we grew up in. When I grew up in, say junior high, high school, my biggest fear was maybe getting into a fist fight. But how many school shootings
At the
have
sock hop.
Yeah, the sock hop.
Thanks. Yes, I'm 100.
Rania, what is
how
there a
many school
reason?
shootings do you have a year here in Texas? I mean,
Well,
there's
Or
a
threats
lot.
of?
No, I'll tell you a number that we've been finding through the Glenda Gordy Research Center at Crime Stoppers of Houston. In 2024 alone, there were 19 cases filed of weapons on a school campus by adults, 176 by juveniles.
My goodness.
That's a staggering number. Wow. Even one shouldn't make it on a campus.
Is there something going on that this has seemed to have gotten so increased in such a short amount of time? I feel like this,
Yeah, what's the reason for
We
that?
have a constant
We've always
threat,
had
but yeah.
TikTok the last few years. We have social media.
but this seems really
the escalation.
concentrated. What's going on
It's
there?
definitely escalated this year. There are some people that are aligning it to an election year. Kids are inherently feeling the stress of the adult population, the instability in the world. They're consuming so much negative content. There are wars breaking out. But at the end of the day, every family needs to be talking to their children about what's going on, figuring out how they feel about all of it, and giving them tools to deal with it. And no matter what a student feels, and by the way, some of these are complete jokes that originate outside of our country, but kids still feel like they can share it, and you can never share it. So even students, if you see that there's a threat, police say, please don't share it. Take a screenshot, send it to your school, send it to a trusted adult, send it to your
But wait a
local
second.
law
If-
enforcement.
If they forward a school shooting type thing to their school, I mean, what proper channels do they need to take?
They want a screenshot, and then they send the image to the school counselor, the
Just say,
principal.
look what I found, look what I saw.
But you never share it on
No,
social
of
media and
course
say,
not,
hey,
yeah.
be careful, HISD school, blah, blah, blah. Don't tag the school. And then parents have a plan. look, how many of us actually read every document we get at the start of
Oh
the
my
school?
God.
Right?
What did I do on my Instagram? 3 days in, I had 77 emails. I go, honey, I'm not going to get them to him today.
You can't.
You know?
You can't, but they outline what the school's going to do in case of an incident. Know what the school's going to do. Have your questions. Go to the school and ask them. Talk to your kids. 2 things I'll also add. If, God forbid, your child's in this situation, don't just all drive to the school because that creates a horrible backlog for law enforcement in terms of trafficking.
That's difficult,
and
though.
don't
You're-
call
you're-
your child. Do not call your child.
Wait, why not call your child?
Because we don't want the shooter, God forbid, to say, what was that noise?
Oh,
Hear
I
a
hear
phone
you.
go off.
Okay,
But that's
okay.
so hard.
It's
so
impossible.
Because they're not allowed to have their
for you as a
Ryan, it's
parent.
impossible.
Because as a parent, you feel helpless. Oh my God, there's an active shooter at my child's school.
It's
I've
the
got
worst.
to find out.
But a lot of
I
kids
know.
now, Rania, in many school districts are not allowed to have their phones with them. The
True.
phones have to be locked up in lockers or backpacks or whatever it is. So, as a parent, if your knee-jerk reaction of your fear is to text your child to make sure they're okay, they don't even have their phone on them.
Exactly, in some schools. But
Yeah.
I would say, as a parent, I know we have so much that is given to us at the beginning of the year. The most important thing you can do is at least understand the school safety protocols and update your contact information, because the schools are mandated by the TEA to get in touch with you if your school campus is in an active
now,
situation.
here is a fear. I want to circle back to this real quick.
And let me
when you said-
reset before you get into it, Ryan, because I know some people are texting in and somebody said, what's happening? What are y'all talking about? We're talking about the very concentrated and heightened threats to all the schools and all these hoaxes that have been happening. We have Rania Mancarius in the studio from Crime Stoppers here on the Roula and Ryan Show talking about the 50 threats
Yes.
and 7 arrests so far in school districts from Klein to Willis
All over.
to Humble to Spring Branch to HISD. Every single school district has been touched by this.
Yes.
And what was your question?
So you just got done saying that parents, upon learning about this, because you get a text, you get a message from your school, your child's school, don't call your student, don't go to the school. But there are going to be people that say, yeah, well, look what happened in Uvalde.
I know.
Where they did nothing. They sat on their hands.
It
And
is
had they
horrible.
just let somebody go in there and do something.
Ryan, every time I see the video of the parents trying desperately, and I swear I'd be one of them, I'd be clawing through the brick to get into
Yeah.
that school. You can't help it. But the protocol, if the school's doing what they're supposed to do, Uvalde is not happening. It is not happening on any level. These schools now do such strategic planning. They map out the school. They have updated maps that are sent to law enforcement. They have panic buttons in classrooms. Their doors are actually numbered so they can quickly tell law enforcement, go to door 52. The shooter's in 52. They have locking mechanisms to get in and out of school. They're starting to layer glass so a shooter can't shoot. We're building them now like we build airports and banks
It's
now.
sad that we have
Right.
to do that, but when you say don't call, and that makes sense because if the phone goes off, then the shooter knows which direction to shoot.
Instinctually.
Can you even text your kids?
well, if the sound is on, it's going to be
Yeah,
a
make sure your
ding.
phone's
You
on
cannot
vibrate, though.
You
Yeah.
cannot. If their
It's
sound's
a
on vibrate,
recommendation, but every family's going to do what they want. But the recommendation is even know what the reunification plan is for your school.
right?
Do you know where the kids would go?
Yeah.
Do you even know? You know, it's such an awful, awkward, horrible, gut-wrenching conversation because there is a reality that these things happen and your child on some level is going to have to navigate it alone. And it's horrible.
And here's the in the other crazy reality we really just need to accept, even though we say it over and over, but this is just the way the generation of our children are being raised, is it is totally normal to have to think about this stuff. When you go to like school night for your child's school to meet faculty or to go there for some meeting and you look around that room, even now as adults who did not have to live with this when we were kids, you're thinking, wow, okay, so what's the strategy
know,
here if somebody
Roula.
tries to walk in here?
I know.
Look at all this glass right here.
know.
Is that bulletproof? Where's my kid going to hide? I mean, you think of all the school shootings you've heard about in the past years, and even that phrase, school shooting, is too much of a trigger. I can't even say those words in front of my kids because we want them to be educated, but it's so heightened that they have anxiety about even the phrase.
I know.